Self-sabotage through alcohol abuse. Guys, let's hit on a topic tonight that can be a little bit controversial and also a topic that a lot of people don't really want to talk about. And the reason for that is because alcohol is such a commonplace in our society. And if you look at simple things like going to a game, going fishing, going to the lake, getting together for an anniversary party or a wedding reception, alcohol is a big part of all of those events. And you can even go to Chuck E. Cheese nowadays if you have kids and they sell beer. I mean, they sell alcohol at Cracker Barrel now, and I never thought I'd see that. But alcohol is a sensitive subject for a lot of people, especially the crowd that abuses alcohol. So I want to focus tonight on the self-sabotage aspect of alcohol versus alcohol when it's used responsibly. And this podcast is not to demonize alcohol as a whole. There are individuals out there that can handle alcohol responsibly. They can have a couple drinks and call it a night. It's not a necessary thing for them to partake in. They can go to an event and say, I'm good. I don't need a beer. I don't need a glass of wine. I'm okay. Then there's other people that cannot do that. And alcohol becomes a almost like a crutch, and it's a necessary evil for them to be able to have fun, to come out of their shell, to blow off steam, because it enables them to almost transform their personality. They let their inhibitions down because they're drinking, and they're drinking to get intoxicated. In most cases, they're not drinking for the taste of it, or not drinking to maybe enjoy it, but they're drinking to kind of fit in or to get to the point of being intoxicated. There's also another side to that, for those of us that have drank or continue to drink, to numb, to escape, to drink to escape a bad relationship, to escape maybe a job that you hate, to escape a failure. You look at your life and say, man, this is not what I had in mind when I was young and I was trying to build a life for myself. So using that alcohol to kind of just not think about it. Some people also numb trauma. They drink to not think about the trauma because they don't want to sit in it. So I want to focus on the self-sabotage piece tied to alcohol abuse, alcoholism, however you want to word it. But the side of that where you're using alcohol to numb pain, to mask shame that you're carrying, to not lean into the hard things. And the reason I want to focus on this, I have a lot of experience with that. I abused alcohol for most of my adult life. And I used alcohol to fit in because I am an introvert. I used alcohol to have fun. Most importantly, I used alcohol to numb pain and to push down deep seated childhood trauma. Up until about 3.5 years ago, I never focused on my mental health. I never put in any work to understand why I carried so much shame from 5 years old into adulthood. I was afraid to. I was afraid to look at myself in the mirror and actually dive deep within my soul and figure out why I felt the way I felt. I chose to drink so I didn't have to think about it. That's my story. So I'm going to share tonight my take on self sabotage from the alcohol abuse standpoint and why I think men struggle with that. Men at a young age are kind of taught to hide any emotions. We're taught to not cry when we get hurt. In sports, if you get hit with a ball while you're at the plate, or you get hit hard in football, you're told to rub some dirt on it and walk it off. You're not allowed to be a sissy. You're not allowed to cry. You're not allowed to show any pain or discomfort. When I played baseball, If you got backed off the plate and got knocked down and your uniform got dirty, you were weak if you brushed the dirt off. If you were strong, you didn't touch it and you just embraced. If you got hit, you just sucked it up. You didn't show any weakness. Men have been taught this for a long time, that you're a bitch if you cry. You're a bitch if you are transparent or vulnerable. The one emotion that men are taught at a young age that is okay is anger. And it's almost like a catch 22, because I think our society today in 2025 fears the angry man, but they almost expect men to be angry. That being said, if a guy is pissed off and is angry, he's a problem. He's dangerous. People want to stay away from him. So it's weird. It's like that emotion is okay to an extent, maybe in some circles, but if you show that emotion, if you show anger, if you let anger control you, you're immediately demonized. You're labeled a problem. You're labeled a loose cannon. You're unstable. You scare women. The list goes on and on. So I was that guy. I was the guy that walked around pissed off pretty much all day long, eternalizing a lot of anger in situations when I couldn't express it, maybe because of a job or in a social setting. But what I would tend to do is I would hit a boiling point. So I would just internalize all this anger, and then it would come out in the worst possible scenarios. And most of the time, that anger has got to go somewhere. It would come out when I was drunk. So I've been sober for over 3.5 years. I don't drink anymore. Um, so I'm trying to reach an audience tonight that may be struggling with alcohol abuse. That's what I'm most familiar with. So I'm going to hit on that mostly tonight. But tying back into the anger, I think men have to have an outlet for that anger. I have some good friends that are self-aware. They're into the mental health. They're into healing and growing. They're really into jujitsu. That's where they kind of release that anger and that tension, or going and hitting a heavy bag. When I was younger, it was running. Now it's lifting weights. When I work out, that's the only time of day where I feel like I can use the intensity inside of me. I can use the anger. And for 60 minutes, I have headphones on. I'm in the gym. It's just me and the weights. No one's going to shame me for being a loose cannon, or judge me, or not shame me, but judge me for being out of control or a loose cannon. They're not going to look at me like some kind of maniac that I can't control my emotions. So that's 60 minutes, at least 5 days a week. I can embrace the anger. I can lean into it. So mental health is very important, because you need to learn how to control that aggression and that anger, and also be self-aware. And I have learned through this journey of mental health, guys, we really can't control anything. We can control how we respond and react to situations. So if someone says something to you that you don't like, or plans change, maybe you're getting nagged by your wife or a family member, maybe your kid's having a meltdown, you can control your actions in that regard. But pretty much everything else, man, I mean, life is constant change. And when you don't focus on your mental health, it's hard to deal with that. It's really hard to go with the flow when you're not in check, you're not self-aware, you're not feeling your body, you're just kind of living in your own head, and you're trying to predict and plan everything. And I get that, man. I'm a planner. I like a routine, I like a schedule, I like to know what's coming next. I don't like surprises, but the more I get into this mental health journey, the more I realize life is constant change, and you cannot prevent bad things from happening. Something bad is always going to happen. And I'm not trying to sound negative. I'm just being realistic. I'm not here to blow smoke and say that life is just going to be grand, because it's not, man. I mean, you could get hit by a car tomorrow. You could lose your job. Your wife could walk out on you. You just never know, man. Like, life is constant change. But the more effort that you put into your mental health, to become more self-aware, the easier it's going to be for you to deal and adapt with that change versus self-sabotaging and numbing all of that and hitting a bar or hitting a ball of pills or gambling or porn, whatever it may be. There's several forms of self-sabotage because something didn't go your way or something catastrophic in your life happened. And men, we have a lot of pressure on us. You may not be an intense individual. You may not think of yourself as a leader. You may not be in a job where you're protecting people, but someone out there, whether it's your own kids or someone else's kids or friends or family, someone looks up to you. Someone is watching you. They're evaluating you. They see you as a role model, as a leader. So that adds to a whole new level of pressure. And if you're not self aware, if you're not taking care of yourself and making your own mental health a priority, your actions are going to impact other people. So let's take this scenario. Let's say you have a small child in your home and you come home from work, you're exhausted, you just want to sit down and relax and watch TV, but your wife needs help in the kitchen or something around the house needs to be fixed or your child wants to play with you. If you're not in check with your emotional health and you're not really self-aware, you may just blow up as soon as you walk in the door. Because let's be honest, as you're driving home, you probably have an idea what's coming if it's a normal routine for you. And you owe it to your family and yourself to be able to take a deep breath, be present in your body, to walk into that house and be able to adjust, to be able to recalibrate and go where you're needed. That's really hard to do if you're not self aware. And if you're just numbing it, if you're just coming home and hitting the bottle and ignoring everybody else in the house, the resentment is going to build. It's going to build from your spouse, from your kids, everyone else in your life. And my goal with this episode is to get this message out to kind of help men out there, anybody out there that may be living this kind of life right now. Because if you don't get a handle on it before it's too late, you'll lose it, man. You'll lose everything. That drive home at night that you dread, walking into that house, it's just chaos with full of kids and full of, whatever, dirty dishes, projects everywhere. That can be taken from you within an instant. And then it's just you. You're on an island. You don't see those kids every day. You don't see that spouse anymore. So you go from chaos to now it's just you. And if you find yourself in that situation, you better have some kind of grip on your mental health because if you don't, you're going to spiral even further out of control. And, I want to say this, every one of us is put on this earth for a reason. We all have a purpose. Some of us may take longer to figure out that purpose and understand that purpose, but everyone's life has value, no matter what your background is, no matter what you've done. And I don't want to see anyone further further spiral out of control because they've lost everything, because they don't feel worthy. They don't feel like they deserve anything. They don't deserve they feel like they don't deserve happiness. They feel like they don't deserve to be loved. And I want to spread a message of awareness to kind of say, hey, you are worth it. And it's okay to put yourself first. Focus on your mental health. Focus on yourself. When you do that, it's going to have a ripple effect and it's going to help everyone else in your life. You may not get a pat on the back. You may not get a lot of praise for working on yourself. You may be called selfish or, you know, other things like that. But at the end of the day, the healthier you can be, the better the environment around you is going to be. You're going to attract what you see of yourself. So if you start working on yourself, you start understanding, hey, I have shame or I have grief that I haven't resolved or I have unresolved trauma. And you start to learn to understand that, It's going to impact everyone in your life in a positive way because you're becoming more self-aware. And I want to say this journey into mental health is not an easy one. It is an ongoing process. You're not just going to wake up one day and say, hey, I got it. I figured it out. I understand everything and now I'm cool. It is an ongoing process. And actually, doing this podcast for me, myself, is therapeutic because the more I can talk about my experiences and the things I've gone through, it helps with my mental health. I do some other things. Um, I've been in therapy, and it works, guys. And this is coming from the guy that used to mock all this stuff. I thought this stuff was so stupid when I was younger, when I would drink to numb. And I'll tell you right now, all that drinking I did, all that numbing that I did, it didn't do jack shit. All it did was push everything out of my life that I had. I don't see my kids every day. I don't have a house with a family. I pushed all that away because I was too damn selfish to focus on how to numb all of my issues versus going and seeking help. And earlier I mentioned that guys at a young age are taught anger is the only emotion that's somewhat acceptable, and you're seen as weak if if you cry, if you get hurt, or you get upset at small things, maybe that a guy would say is girly, stuff like that. It takes more courage and more strength to realize you may have a problem or you may have an unresolved issue that you need to work on than it does to just numb it and act like nothing's wrong. A coward goes to the bottle to numb their pain. And I was a coward. I was afraid to face my fears, to face my shame, to face my unresolved trauma. I was afraid of it. And I lived in that shit every single day. And I would numb it and I would just black out and go to sleep. But you know what? When I woke up, it was still there. I didn't understand it. I just carried shame. It takes strength to reach out and ask for help. It takes strength to focus on yourself and get better and to realize your self-worth. That takes strength. Not a lot of people, men especially, are willing the next step into self-awareness and mental health because there's really not a whole lot of glory in it, guys. You're not going to get a big welcome or whatever, like party thrown for you or any of that crap. Do it for yourself. Do it for yourself. Focus on yourself, get better, and it's going to impact everyone else, like I said earlier, in a healthy way. And it may be a lonely road. You may be in isolation. You may feel like your back's against the wall and you got nowhere to go, but stay the course. Don't quit. You're worth it. And you're going to lose friends. Let's be real. Let's be raw here. You're going to lose friends. The guy that chooses to work on himself and not go out and party is not fun to hang out with. He's just not. Because I don't know anybody that doesn't drink alcohol that's going to go sit at a bar with their friends who are shit faced the whole time and just hang out. That is a miserable experience when you're on the other side of it, when you're not drinking, when you're going to parties or you're going to events and everyone else is drinking and you're not. That is not fun. But if you're willing to take the step to work on yourself, to heal, to grow, to evolve into the man you can be, you're not going to want to be in those situations. They're not going to bring value to your life. I mean, let's be real, guys. What good comes out of going to a bar and getting wasted? It's fun, but at what cost? Is it worth throwing away a life you have, a family you have? No, it's not. Is it worth leaving the bar and getting into an accident or worse, killing somebody because you're drunk behind the wheel? I used to do that all the time. I used to drink and drive all the time. It's stupid. It's stupid. People in your life depend on you. They look up to you. regardless of how you feel about yourself, especially if you have children. Even the deadbeat dads out there that don't pay child support, that don't have a job, that aren't present for their kids. When they do get the chance to be around their kids, I guarantee you, especially the sons, they're looking at these men because they're their dads. They're looking at them like, man, that's my dad. Maybe they see him as a cool guy or they want to spend time with him. Maybe they don't. But I guarantee you, some of those kids are still looking up to him because that's blood, man. That's your dad, regardless of what kind of person they are. That's their dad. So as a man, you owe it to yourself and everyone else in your life to be selfish, to work on yourself, to lean into the pain, to lean into the hard things and get better. It's not easy, but more and more people are spreading awareness for men's mental health. This is one podcast out of probably thousands that are out there. There's several books, there's conferences, there's therapists you can talk to. More and more men, especially in the veteran community, and I'm talking veterans, guys that have been in combat, guys that were drinking and living hard and going crazy, they're coming out now and saying, hey, that's not the right way to deal with PTSD. That's not the right way to deal with failure. All it does is bring destruction. For me, the way I got into mental health, the path that took me into this self-awareness was God, was getting back into church. That's when I realized God ultimately is in control. You are not. There is free will. You can make choices. You can either go left or right, but in the end of the day, God is in control. And if you're not religious, I get that. This is me speaking from my personal experience. That's what humbled me. That's what finally showed me I can't do this. When I got sober, I went an unconventional route. I went through the church versus a 12-step program. And I got closer in my faith, closer to the Lord. That's what worked for me. And whether you believe in God or not, He created you. He created you to live a life of purpose and for a reason. Your life has value. You are worth every minute of time it takes to heal, to grow, and to inspire others. Don't think for 1 minute that your life has no meaning, because it does, regardless of what you've done in your past, regardless of where you are right now. Anyone is worthy, anyone, of healing and growing and evolving into the man they were destined to be. If this podcast resonated with you, please feel free to comment in the comment section. Please like and subscribe to this channel. This is raw, this is real, and this is not sugar-coated. I am not going to come on here and blow smoke. I am not an expert. I feel compelled to share my testimony, share my experience so I can help other people. I don't have all the answers, but I will say this: at this stage in my life, I am way more comfortable talking about my failures and my unpleasant moments in life, especially when it pertains to self-sabotage and how much of my life I threw away because of drinking. If I can do this, if I can go through this process and get healthier, you can do it too. I'm not better than anybody out there watching this podcast. I'm not special. I'm just stubborn and I'm all in. I don't quit. And if you're an intense individual, if you're an A-type dude, which that word gets thrown around a lot, but if you're you know, just a guy that doesn't quit, I guarantee you dip your feet in this thing, this mental health thing, and you're gonna go all the way. You're gonna go all the way. And there are communities out there that are set up to support other like-minded men. I encourage you to get in a men's group. If you don't go to church, consider going to church. Look for a 12-step program, whatever it takes, man. Just put your pride aside, have some humility, and ask for help. It does not make you weak. It does not make you a bitch if you seek out help. Your life has meaning. Don't ever forget that. God bless, guys. Thank you for watching.